I'm not a lumberjack or a fur trader. I don't live in an igloo or eat blubber or own a dog sled. And I don't know Jimmy, Sally, or Susie from Canada, although I'm sure they're very, very nice. I have a prime minister, not a president. I speak English and French, a little bit, not American. And I pronounce it about, not a boot. I can proudly sew my country's flag on a backpack. I believe in peacekeeping, not policing, diversity, not assimilation, and that the beaver is a truly proud and noble animal. A toque is a hat, a Chesterfield is a couch, and it is pronounced Z, not Z, Z. Canada is the second largest landmass, the first nation of hockey, and the second best part of North America next to the Disney parks. My name is Tyler, and I'm Canadian. And welcome to episode 16 of the Blue Sky Lounge. Now, the Blue Sky Lounge is a community where people can come and share their blue sky ideas for Disney. Whether it be a new idea for an attraction, a restaurant, or even a washroom concept. We want to hear it and discuss it. Now, you can subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts or YouTube. And if this is your first time listening or watching us on YouTube, welcome. Go back and visit our past episodes. We'd love to hear from you and hear your comments for future show ideas. Now, episode 16 is the start of a series going through the World Showcase pavilions and overhauling all the ones that are currently there and blue sky thinking possible countries that could go in the empty spaces around World Showcase. That's right, there's still room there. Now, our first pavilion for the topic is going to be the Canada Pavilion, as you can tell. Now, this week on our show, we have Chris Pratt. Nope, not that one, a different one, who will be joining us and discussing the Canadian Pavilion, as he is also Canadian like myself. We'll be discussing what we would like to see come to the Canadian Pavilion if there were no restrictions at all, whether it be money, funding, or anything like that. Please welcome Chris to the show. All right, folks, well, here on the Blue Sky Lounge, we have Chris from the Holy Moly with us. How are you doing tonight, Chris?
Good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Chris, can you tell us about the Holy Moly and kind of what you do with your YouTube channel?
Well, the YouTube channel it actually kind of started as a Disney channel. My first videos are not Disney, but I've been inspired by a lot of great Disney vloggers. That's the start of even watching YouTube.
Yeah.
So Tim and Jen, we started watching their videos probably in 2012.
Yeah.
World of Micah, that's another one.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I've done videos with, and Micah's a good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. Jackie from Super Enthused, who
Mm-hmm.
I've got to hang out with just one time. Timing's never worked out any other time.
Mm-hmm.
Another positive Disney vlogger.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is sort of how my channel started, because we went to Disney so often.
Yeah.
Probably we've averaged twice a year
Nice.
until this past year.
Yeah.
Probably it was about 2013. And again, I started when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
But since then, I think the channel has sort of developed in a bunch of different ways. So other trips and more travel and cooking and daily vlogging, not quite daily vlogging or
Mm-hmm.
a little sporadic, but I try to have something out at least once a week. A lot of cooking. Now I got a drone, so I'm got some drone footage. I just was out flying around the Okotoks erratic this afternoon
Nice.
with my daughter, so that was fun. It was a nice way to stop thinking about the news. And so it's sort of a daily vlog, travel, cooking, keto. It's sort of a whole bunch of things.
Excellent. Very cool. I know I've seen quite a few of your videos, and I've always been a big fan. So I will definitely put a link in our description below, and hopefully we'll bring some traffic to your page.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's just dive right into this. This week's episode is start of our EPCOT World Showcase series, where we're going around pavilion to pavilion, starting with the Canada Pavilion and just doing a reimagining of it, essentially. If money weren't an option, if we're just blue sky thinking whatever you would want to put in the Canada Pavilion, I figured, I'm going to try and get a person from that country for every pavilion that's around the World Showcase. So I thought, what better to get another Canadian? So
Sure.
I asked you. So knowing that you're a big Disney fan, that you do go to Disney quite a bit, first of all, what is it about the Canadian Pavilion that you like to experience when you go there?
Well, I definitely do enjoy the Canadian Pavilion. My favorite part of it is the little walkway down by the waterfall and the canyon.
Yeah.
And if you've been in that back area,
yeah,
where the waterfall is. And I know it doesn't say this, but to me, that is Johnson Canyon. Have you ever gone to the Johnson Canyon hike in Banff?
Okay.
It is like almost exactly like that.
Really? Okay.
So to me, every time I'm there, I'm like, I feel like that is a little bit of representation of Alberta.
Okay.
Now, I don't have anything that says that that's what it is, but if I've done both the Johnson Canyon hike and I've been to that area many times.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite little spot there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I like it. It's out away from everything. The water and the mist always keep it a little bit cool back there, and it's shady.
Yeah.
So on a hot day, that's a nice little sanctuary, and it's not busy.
Yeah.
So it's a nice quiet place to sort of just hang out, be near the water.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely there's like a little kind of open area before you reach the stairs to go up to the shops and stuff. There's a little kind of open space against the rocks that you can just kind of lean against, listen to the waterfall, have that little rest, that little siesta for the afternoon, the 10 minutes that you need. I definitely understand that for sure. I love that area. Like I said, I worked at Le Cellier, so I know that pavilion very, very well. And I always loved working at Le Cellier and going out and interacting with the guests outside and hearing the waterfall in the background and seeing the gardens that were in front of the restaurant and stuff. It was always a fun time to go outside and interact with the guests out there and have that experience. So
for sure.
Awesome. Now, if you were to change anything about the pavilion, what would you want to see happen?
I can think of a few things.
Okay.
Number one, starting in Le Cellier.
Okay.
I would go hardcore on actually making things as Canadian, like real Canadian. So if a butter tart was on the menu, not just Disney-fied, Americanized version or inspired by butter tart, because I've had it. It's not a butter tart.
Yeah.
I know there's like 5,000 variations of butter tarts all across Canada.
Yeah.
That one was not one of them. So there's that.
Yeah.
If I order a Caesar,
it
should have vodka.
Yeah.
And it should not have rye or whatever it is that they put in. And so you have to ask them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's things like that. I think there should be more an emphasis on bringing an experience that is similar to what it would be like if you were in that country. And that's across the board, but specifically with Canada.
Mm-hmm.
You can get the Canadian filet.
Mm-hmm.
The only Canadian beef on that whole menu. As far as last time I was there anyways.
So I was working there when it went to the signature dining. And prior to that, we were actually told that all the beef came from Australia.
Okay.
But once it went signature, they wanted to try and make it as authentic as possible. So they got Alberta beef. Again, this was 10 years ago when it went signature. But at the time, they went and sourced all of their beef and brought it from Alberta. So it was actually true Canadian beef that they were serving. And yes, that filet is always going to be a Canadian filet. I can guarantee you that. But as for the other ones, like I said, this is 10 years later from when I was working. But when I was there, we had a Kansas City ribeye and things like that. And those were actual Canadian pieces of beef. So that's that's always a good thing to know. But like I said, like I don't know if it's changed since then. I would hope that since it's still a signature restaurant that they kept it the same.
I
But
was there in
yeah,
October, November last year.
yeah,
Not 2019, sorry.
yeah,
Back for a while, but 2019.
yeah.
And in fact, it was actually a night I was supposed to have dinner. We were supposed to have dinner with Tim and Jen.
Okay.
Jen was not feeling well. She was like very heavily pregnant.
Yeah.
And so they couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But I did a video about it, and yeah, so I did highlight that in the videos. And
Yeah.
One thing now, there was mussels from PEI, so
Yeah.
that was cool. But that was sort of it. It's like
Yeah.
we really were looking at the menu, and the whole video was, how Canadian is this?
Mhm.
Really Canadian?
Mhm.
Yeah, like it. You know, if I was to give it like out of 5 maple leaves, I think it would only be 2.
Yeah,
2
for
maple
sure.
leaves out of
Yeah.
5.
I am totally with you with the restaurant. Definitely need an overhaul on their
The
cuisines.
food
for
is
sure.
delicious. I have
Oh.
no problems with any of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like debatable whether it's really signature or not. I mean, I remember as well when it was a 1 credit for the dining
Mhm.
plan, and I thought that was fair, but it was next to impossible to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for a 2 credit meal, it's probably one of the easier ones to actually make a reservation.
Yeah.
And,
But yeah, there's definitely a lot of things on that menu that definitely could signify the country more. Like I know their poutine that they make, you know, fries, cheese curds, yes, but their gravy that they make is actually like a red wine reduction. That's
yeah,
not
it's
poutine.
It's not poutine
You
gravy.
gotta have that beef gravy, man. It's just
Yeah,
that's
brown gravy.
that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's
and-
not the whole. I mean, I like fancy poutine and I like classic poutine.
Yeah.
I think I would personally think as someone who travels, who enjoys travel, or people who go to EPCOT
Yeah.
to sort of get that experience without actually going anywhere.
Yeah.
That I think they should emphasize the actual a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't think that the Canadian palate. I mean, it is different because there's
Mhm.
all kinds of foods that are like the same name, but they're actually different between Canada and the U.S. So there is some differences in our palate, but I don't know. Maybe Disney's right. Maybe the Americans wouldn't like it. I'm not sure.
I think
Yeah.
definitely like with the poutine with the red wine reduction, I think that's just kind of being a little bit more fancy, more
Mhm.
signature.
Yeah.
But you know, when you think of a signature restaurant, you don't think of fries, cheese, and gravy. You think of fries, cheese, and some type of reduction.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
But yeah.
truffle.
Yeah, exactly. But I do like the idea of having a menu overhaul there for sure. I think that would be a lot of fun. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but when you go to Le Cellier, the restaurant, all the servers areas are divided into different sections, and each server has about 4 tables. But each of those sections is named after a province or a territory in Canada. So, like when I was working there, we would go down, we would memorize what each section was, and we'd go and we'd have to say like, oh yeah, you know, you're going to be sitting in our Alberta province tonight, and Alberta is home to the Calgary Stampede, which was founded in 1912, and you just kind of give a fact about that province kind of thing, and like Manitoba is the polar bear capital of the world kind of thing, and things like that.
I'm just trying to remember if I've ever got that little spiel, that little bit of thing, and I don't think I have.
Yeah,
to be honest,
it's
I know the first time I went there. Well, no, the first time I went there was like in 1992, but the first time I took my daughter there was in 2013,
mm-hmm.
and then I hadn't been back again until the last or 2019. So. 2013 is too far away to remember, and I don't think they did it when I was there last.
Yeah, so it's just like one of those fun little facts. It would be nice if they for each section, instead, like I totally understand that Le Cellier in French means the cellar, and so it's supposed to be this giant wine cellar that you're supposed to be sitting in, but it would be nice if it would make it a bit more kitschy, but if each section was themed to that province, So
Yeah.
maybe if they have like, I know when you walk into the restaurant, you're facing in towards the dining room. On the right hand side, there's all the stained glass along the wall and along the back wall. It'd be really nice even there if they just make like stained glass pictures of different provinces and like
Yeah.
different landscape
Great idea.
pictures. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So then you don't necessarily have to theme every section to the provinces, but you have that representation, that landscape picture of what that province might look like. And sure, Saskatchewan's going to have a lot of prairie and a lot of rolling wheat, and that
But
picture
yeah,
is not going to
do
look
some
that fun.
grain
But
elevators
right,
and yeah. I mean, I know an artist who it's one of his famous things he does is he
Yeah.
paints the elevators in Saskatchewan, and
yeah,
it has its own beauty.
yeah,
In itself.
absolutely.
It's sort of a minimalist kind of thing, but it
Yeah.
is. It has its own beauty.
Yeah.
For sure. And
One other interesting fact that I don't know if you know this, when you walk into Le Cellier and you're at the little check-in table, there's a big wine cellar behind a big gate that actually used to be an elevator shaft that would go up to the area above it. And apparently there was going to be, or I was told that elevator was actually going to be working, and it was going to be a two-story restaurant, so you could sit either up or down. So there is that big giant space in the chateau up above that at one point did have stores in it and things like that. But I think it would be really nice if there could be another type of food option up there, maybe a quick service or something like that. I have posted this question out to a lot of people on Facebook, and a lot of people wrote back that they would love to see like a sports bar put up there.
Yeah, have hockey and
Right.
Canadian sports playing for
Yeah.
sure. Blue Jays games and
Right.
Raptors.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool. But
Yeah.
I like the idea of a quick service too, where there's so many things you could do. It could be even like an attraction in itself.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure there's not enough for a ride, but some kind of a walk-through attraction, museum, or something with animatronics, or there's a way to tell the history of Canada. Talking about so many.
Yeah, I think like an exhibit would be a good word for that. I think an exhibit would be a great idea. You could have a whole bunch of different Canadian artists showcase there and showcase all the beauty that we have to offer in this country, and showcase all of these different artists, and you could have tons of First Nations artwork in there and things like that.
Absolutely.
And they have like First Nations representation with the totem poles outside, but in true actuality there's only one real totem pole in Canada. The rest are all man-made by Disney. They're all fake. So it's unfortunate that it's unfortunate that there's only that one true representation. It'd be nice to see more representation of the First Nations, because there is such a heritage of them here in Canada. So
my understanding of Canada's involvement in the funding or sponsorship of Canadian Pavilion and EPCOT was that they pulled out of actually taking sponsoring it, unlike say like Morocco, that is sponsored by the Kingdom of Morocco. Because, this is ironic, because they didn't want it to be stereotype attraction of Canadian things. So they pulled out, which in turn kind of made it a stereotype. Of Canadian things, right? So I just found that to be a bit of an interesting thought, is that it sort of ironically became what we didn't want it to be. As not as Canadians participating in it or sponsoring it, because then we would have had a say. So we should have had more First Nation representation,
right?
Or more East Coast representation. Really, you get a little bit of the West Coast and the Haida art and the totem poles. You've got some Eastern Canada with, as you're walking up past the chateau on your right, and one part is Ontario and the other part is Quebec. So Upper Canada and Lower Canada are kind of represented in there. But after that, okay, so that mountainy kind of area that I like sort of might be Alberta mountainish, but not
Could
really.
be, yeah.
We've got Bouchard Gardens there, of course.
Yeah.
We're on Vancouver Island, so again,
Yeah.
more West Coast. But not a lot. Like, there's nothing I can say, like, unless you know what, if you grew up in Ontario and you saw these old buildings your whole life made of stone,
Yeah.
you would never know. It's like, oh, is that's what old
Yeah.
Canadian buildings are? Yeah, that's old Canadian on Ontario.
Yeah. But yeah, there's nothing.
Prairies.
Yeah. There's nothing of the Maritimes, especially like there's not any really true representation of PEI or Nova Scotia or New Brunswick or anything like that. So it would definitely be really nice to bring in that aspect and have the true representation of those maritime provinces. And maybe you could add like another attraction or something that's like a fishing type attraction where you go out and do some fishing or something like that. That's a huge industry out on the East Coast. So
it's massive. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm lucky enough. I've been to every Canadian province, so I can say I know that those places aren't represented because I've been there.
Yeah,
I know
right.
it actually isn't there.
Yeah,
or if it is, it's so subtle it went over my head.
And even
it really shouldn't be.
Yeah, even with the Circle Vision movie, there's nothing really like it's like, oh yeah, and there's those eastern provinces as well, and even like the territories aren't really represented either. So it would be nice to have an area that is represented with the Maritimes and the territories for sure.
Definitely.
Awesome. One idea that somebody mentioned was to put a Tim Hortons on the top part of the chateau. I get that. It would make every Canadian happy that goes there for sure. Get their Timmy's fix.
It's still only $2.25 for a double. I think that would make a lot of people happy, but it probably would end up not being as cheap. So I think most Canadians, the real reason they love it is because it only costs $2 to get it.
Exactly.
That's the number one reason we love it so much.
Yeah.
Is Starbucks better? Yeah, I think so. It's way cheaper.
Yeah. Excellent. Awesome. What about like the film itself? Is there anything that you would want to see changed about it? Like we did mention like the territories and the maritime provinces not represented, but is there anything else that you would want to change? They did just change it.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it, and I know they were giving the Circle Vision a high-tech makeover, so it's going to be one continuous screen.
Yeah.
That's cool, and if they've changed the film, I can't talk about that, but the old film, I kind of loved it, but they did sort of jump around a lot. It was sort of like, hey, you're in Calgary, you're the Calgary Stampede, yeehaw, all that stuff, and then it was like, now we're in, I forget where they went next, but I think it was like
Toronto or something. Yeah. They
like,
skipped completely over two provinces. It's like
3,000 miles, and we'll just make it like just like that. So there's some, and again, someone's artistic vision was like flying over the prairies, maybe didn't really do it for them.
Yeah.
But they didn't have to do that. You can go to northern Saskatchewan and look at all that Canada Shield and those lakes and the forests. And there is incredible beauty in every aspect, every part of this country.
Yeah.
And it depends on the eyes you use, how you want to see it that way. But I think that is definitely a failure of that film for me.
For sure.
Really should. I mean, I know it's only 6 minutes long or whatever it is, but okay, crank it up to 8 minutes, and then let's just add in every province and territories and everything. Let's do it all from the North Pole to Hudson Bay to everywhere.
Yeah. All right, Chris, is there anything else that you would like to do for the pavilion?
Well, I think there's a treat that they should have that people will go crazy for.
Okay.
Personally, and that would be maple pie.
Okay.
You ever had hot maple syrup poured out on the snow?
Yeah.
And so I grew up in Ontario, and my uncle, he made maple syrup. It was one of the things that he had a dairy farm, he had honeybees, and he made maple syrup. And I think it was like this most Canadian of memories. Doesn't get any better than this, that I'm actually in my uncle's sugar shack helping him boil the sap. I helped them get buckets of syrup, just look like water, right?
Yeah.
Pour it into this big tank. You boil it and boil it and boil it and boil it. And then once it's all done, you take some hot maple syrup and you pour it on the snow. You get like a little stick.
Yeah.
I think we just used a stick. Honestly, I don't think my uncle had any popsicle sticks around.
Yeah.
And we would just roll it up because it gets all caramely, and then just put that. And you could do that. You could have these little freezer beds, and you have fresh ice in there, and you could do that. I think Disney charged $10 each, and they'd make $1 million.
Yeah,
selling maple syrup.
That's brilliant. I love that idea. They get it. Think of like a marble slab cold stone creamery where you just have that cold marble stone. You just pour out maple syrup. That's perfect. It's so easy.
It's simple. It's easy. And
it's cheap.
It's cheap to do.
Yeah.
So the profit on it would be insane.
Yeah.
And it's an experience.
Yeah.
If this is as quintessential Canadian experiences, there is.
Yeah.
Would be having that. And in fact, most Canadians probably even have not even had that experience like I have.
Yeah.
But it's one of my little Canadian gem little memories.
That's awesome. I think that is so brilliant. I love that idea so much. I remember going there when I was younger. They used to have the beaver tail stand, and you could get beaver tails. Again, one of those other quintessential Canadian treats, but I love this idea of the maple toffee. I think what better way to represent, that perfect Canadian treat. Yes, it's going to be very sugary, and it's going to, you can't help that, but
what else does
exactly right? But you can't beat that Canadian maple syrup either. It's it's some of the best maple syrup in the world for sure. So awesome. I think that's so smart. So smart. Perfect. All right. Chris, I think that pretty much kind of fills up our time. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I really hope that you'll be able to come back on again and join us for another episode.
Sure.
Excellent.
No problem.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Now, thanks again, Chris, for coming on to the show. And now it's time to hear from you, the listeners. Now, we've had a lot of feedback about this topic, which is awesome. I love getting all this feedback. So let's just dive right in. Ashley suggested taking the chateau, this upper part of the chateau above Le Cellier restaurant, and turning that into either some stores or possibly a different type of quick service restaurant. There were actually a lot of people that thought of making this area into a quick service restaurant. Ashley thought that perhaps making it into some type of sports bar, maybe a hockey themed type bar, would be a lot of fun, as our nation is very into hockey. I think that's a great idea. I think especially with how tied into our culture hockey is, that hockey and this idea, or hockey and this pavilion, I should say, go hand in hand. I think it's very easy to make a hockey-themed sports bar or quick service restaurant. For instance, for a main focal point feature, you could have the replica of a scoreboard jumbotron from any one of the NHL arenas that are here in Canada replicated, and have it be over top of the bar itself with big screens in it, and you could be playing different types of hockey games or sports games. You could also, for instance, show lacrosse. Lacrosse, for those of you that don't know, is actually Canada's national sport, not hockey. So you could go both ways and have hockey and lacrosse. One really cool concept that I saw was to make a bar, the top of the bar, out of hockey sticks. You can line up all these different hockey sticks and make the bar top out of it. You could make tables that look like hockey pucks. You could put up all types of sports memorabilia, hockey memorabilia, all around the restaurant, different jerseys, different pictures of winning teams. You could sell the cheddar cheese soup from Le Cellier in this restaurant. You could do pretzel bread. I think actually selling the cheddar cheese soup and the pretzel bread from there is one of the smartest ideas, because it is such a big seller in Le Cellier restaurant. Usually when I was working in Le Cellier, I would say 80 to 90% of the tables always got cheddar cheese soup, just because it's that good. Almost every year for any type of festival, cheddar cheese soup is usually on the menu for any of the festival kiosks that pop up. So I think that having that option would be a no-brainer for Disney. You would make so much money. Another Canadian staple food is poutine. And I think that if you made a quick service restaurant in the chateau, or a sports bar in the chateau, and sold poutine there, A, it's really cheap for Disney to make, and B, they could make bank on it because they could just increase the price on it. It's such a simple concept, and I think Disney should totally hop on board with this and have a little poutine kiosk in Canada. Even if they don't turn it into a restaurant and they turn it into another shop, you could have different kiosks around the pavilion, maybe one kiosk that sells beaver tails and poutine, or who knows what. Actually, again, suggested having some sitting space up there that you can actually view the waterfall and kind of take in that atmosphere and enjoy it. I think that's a great idea, Ashley. I know there's tons of people that go up there just for that kind of nice little secluded area. There's a great photo opportunity of the waterfall. You could have nice kind of garden tables out there, sit down, enjoy your coffee. Now, Michelle mentioned that she would like to have a character meet and greet in Canada. I think that this is absolutely doable. I remember going to EPCOT when I was younger, right around the time that Brother Bear came out, and Coda and Kenai were both out there in Canada. Now, Donna suggested doing some type of ride in Canada. Now, Canada does have the Canada Circle Vision show in the pavilion, but it would be nice to have a ride. I completely agree. Norway has a ride, Mexico has a ride. Why can't Canada? I think a very fun concept could be maybe a dog sled. Trevor suggested that maybe for an attraction you could have one inspired by the old Selkirk steam engines from the Canadian Pacific Railway. Trevor, I think this is a great idea. Maybe you could take that concept that I was having about the Omnimovers and maybe make it into a little train ride where you have, a replica Selkirk steam engine pulling all of the passengers along, showcasing different areas of Canada, because the Canadian Pacific Railway was the first railway to go from the East Coast to the West Coast. So I think that's a perfect fit for showcasing the different parts of Canada. You could take out the Canadian Circle Vision show and start the attraction there and just kind of go around. I think that would be a lot of fun. One thing that Sabrina suggested was a make-your-own Inukshuk activity area. Now, for those of you that don't know, this is an Inukshuk. It's just a stack of rocks to look like a person. Some of you might remember seeing them for the 2010 Vancouver Winter Olympic Games. The Inukshuk was very popular then. Sabrina, I think this is a cool idea as well. Why not have a make-your-own Inukshuk? Or maybe instead of, drawing in, I don't know if it's still Duffy, but instead of coloring in a Duffy, maybe in Canada you can color in an Inukshuk and make it your own special one. I think that would be a lot of fun. One thing also that Sabrina suggested, and a couple other people, was to build some type of skating rink in Canada. We're a winter nation. We have winter 6 to 9 months of the year. I live in Calgary, Alberta, and I've seen it snow in July and August. No lie, I've seen it snow in July and August. So why not have an ice skating rink where people could go and skate around and have fun? Now, I totally get it can be a liability issue, but we're blue sky thinking here. Maybe it's not an ice skating rink. Maybe it's a roller skating rink that is simulating ice skating. Who knows? But I think this would be a great idea. And maybe if they can somehow push back the gardens that are just outside of Le Cellier. Maybe they can make a bigger water feature and somehow freeze that water feature during the winter, or if they can somehow put a fake ice surface on top of it, maybe you can go skating then. I think that would be a lot of fun. And since we're going on the ice skating route and hockey, maybe you have your quick service area down by the skating rink shaped like a Zamboni. But instead of having an actual Zamboni, and have it be a facade of an actual building that could be a quick service restaurant. I think that would be really cool. Another person, Paul, who you might remember from our Marvel Hotel episode, suggested having a hotel in every pavilion that's like a boutique hotel. Maybe there's 5 to 10 rooms in every pavilion that you can stay at for a short-term stay, much like the Star Wars Star Cruiser hotel that's being built just outside of Hollywood Studios. So you could stay at each of these boutique hotels maybe 2 or 3 nights. Now the great thing about this is that he thought it would be a lot of fun to have the check-in right by the Boardwalk Hotel. But instead of staying at the Boardwalk, maybe you go under a tunnel and walk to your hotel, or maybe you get on a bus and the bus takes you backstage of EPCOT and you drive to the Canadian Pavilion and you get into your room at the Canadian Pavilion. I think that would be a lot of fun. And that's a wrap for this week's show. Good day. All of those ideas were great, eh? Now join us next week for our Disney cocktails episode. We're going to be discussing all different types of Disney cocktails, whether they are virgin or not virgin cocktails. That's all right. But we'll be discussing a whole bunch of different Disney-inspired drinks that you can have. Join us next week for our Disney drinks episode. We're having a whole episode devoted to drinks that are inspired by Disney, whether it be inspired by the parks or inspired by the films. Doesn't matter. But it's going to be a lot of fun, so come thirsty. If you enjoyed this week's episode, make sure to leave a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. Now, if you want to share your ideas or opinions on ideas and upcoming topics, head over to our Facebook community, like I mentioned before, or go to our new Reddit page. The links are going to be in the description down below. Alternatively, you can also email me at theblueskylounge@gmail.com. We are on most social media platforms by searching the Blue Sky Lounge, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. And if you do like the show, feel free to share it with your friends on social media. We'd love to hear from them as well. And don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Now please note that the Blue Sky Lounge is not affiliated with Disney in any way. This is a fan-run show with fan ideas and artwork that is in no true representation of what may or may not happen with Disney in the future. Now thank you so much for joining us this week here on the Blue Sky Lounge. And just remember to think, dream, believe, and dare yourself to use your imagination. Who knows what kind of blue sky thinking you can do from your armchair. Thanks.